When a mysterious millionaire walks into Luna's diner and arrogantly challenges waitress Celeste to pick any meal she wants, he expects her to jump at luxury and expensive restaurants. Instead, her unexpected choice to go stargazing completely shatters his world and reveals a truth that will change humanity forever. Hey there, romance lovers. Tonight, we dive into a world where every choice has a cost and every moment matters. Shall we step into it? The fluorescent lights of Luna's diner hummed overhead as Celeste Rivera wiped down the same table for the fourth time, her calloused hands moving in practiced circles across the cracked formica. At 26, she had memorized every stain, every chip in the paint, every crack in the vinyl booths that had become her world for the past 4 years. The walls around her were covered in vintage space posters and photographs of distant galaxies, a painful reminder of dreams she'd buried beneath the weight of survival. "You're going to scrub a hole right through that table," Flora called from behind the counter, her voice cutting through the morning stillness. The breakfast rush had been pathetic today. Just 3 customers scattered across the red vinyl seats like forgotten prayers. Celeste forced a smile that felt like broken glass. "Just keeping busy." The brass bell above the door chimed and everything changed. He walked in like he owned not just the diner but the entire block, 6 feet 2 inches of pure arrogance. Wrapped in a suit that cost more than Celeste made in 3 months, his dark hair caught the light like starlight itself, and when his silver blue eyes swept the room, Celeste felt her breath catch in her throat. Ryan Sterling moved with the fluid grace of someone who had never been denied anything, his expensive shoes silent against the worn linoleum. There was something otherworldly about him, as if gravity affected him differently than everyone else. Well, Flora whispered, nudging Celeste. "Looks like we've got ourselves real royalty." Celeste approached his table, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Good morning, welcome to Luna's Diner, I'm Celeste."
Ow.
When he looked up at her, those impossible silver eyes seemed to see straight through her, cataloging her worn uniform, her chipped nail polish, her desperate attempt at dignity. "Coffee would be perfect," he said, his voice carrying an accent she couldn't place. "Black," she poured. She felt his gaze tracking her every movement like a predator studying prey. "Actually," he said, closing the menu without opening it, "I have a proposition for you." Heat crept up Celeste's neck. "A proposition?" He leaned back with a smile that was all sharp edges and calculated charm. "You work here, serving other people, cleaning up their messes. I imagine you don't often get to indulge in the finer things in life." The condescension in his voice made her jaw clench. She'd dealt with wealthy customers before, but there was something different about this man, something that made his arrogance feel almost alien. "It's very generous," she said carefully, "but I'm working right now, and after your shift ends." He pulled out a black credit card that seemed to shimmer in the light. "Pick any restaurant in the city. Anywhere you want to go? Price is no object." Flora appeared at her shoulder, tension radiating from her small frame. "A challenge?" Ryan's smile widened, revealing perfect teeth. "I'm curious to see what someone in her position would choose when given unlimited options. Most people in your circumstances would jump at the chance for luxury." The words hit like a slap because they carried a grain of truth Celeste didn't want to acknowledge. She did dream of a different life, one where she could study the stars instead of serving coffee. "You know what?" Celeste straightened her shoulders, meeting his gaze directly. "I accept your challenge." Both Flora and Ryan looked surprised, but for different reasons. "Excellent," Ryan said, leaning forward with predatory interest. "Where would you like to go?" "I know the chef at Lumiere personally." Celeste smiled, and this time it was genuine. "Actually, I have something else in mind. Pick me up here at 8 tonight and dress warmly." "Where are we going?" "Stargazing." For the first time since walking through that door, Ryan Sterling's confident expression faltered completely. The silence in Ryan's car was suffocating as they drove toward the outskirts of the city. Celeste stole glances at his profile in the dashboard's glow, noting how the artificial light seemed to dance across his skin in ways that defied physics. His hands gripped the steering wheel with controlled tension, knuckles white against the black leather. "Tell me something," he said suddenly, his voice cutting through the quiet. "Why astronomy? What draws you to the stars?" The question felt loaded, weighted with something she couldn't identify. When I was little, my grandmother told me that every star was a story waiting to be discovered. She said if we listened carefully enough, we could hear the universe sharing its secrets. Do you hear the secrets? Sometimes. The word came out softer than she intended. On nights like this, I feel connected to something bigger than myself. Like being part of a cosmic conversation that's been going on for billions of years. Ryan went quiet, but she caught him glancing at her with an expression that looked almost like hunger or recognition. When they reached the field, the sky stretched endlessly above them, a canvas of stars unmarked by city lights. Celeste spread out a blanket and began setting up her grandmother's telescope while Ryan stood motionless, staring upward with what appeared to be genuine wonder. "It's beautiful," he said, and for the first time, his voice carried no trace of calculation. "Wait until you see Saturn through the telescope." Celeste made final adjustments to the focus. "Sometimes I think about all the worlds that might exist out there. All the beings who might be looking back at us, wondering if they're alone." When she looked up, she found Ryan staring at her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. In the starlight, his silver eyes seemed to glow with their own inner fire. "What if I told you," he said quietly, "that you're not as alone as you think?" The words hung between them like a challenge. Celeste felt a shiver that had nothing to do with the cool night air. "What do you mean?" For a moment, Ryan seemed to struggle with himself as if weighing whether to reveal something crucial. Then he stepped closer, close enough that she could see the way starlight danced across his skin. "I mean, the universe is far more connected than most people realize. Sometimes when we look up at the stars, something might be looking back. You sound like you know something the rest of us don't." Ryan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried a weight that seemed to come from somewhere ancient and deep. "Tell me more about your dreams, Celeste." "What is it you really want from the stars?" The way he said her name, with that musical accent, made her stomach flutter. "I've always felt like I belonged up there somehow, like Earth was just a temporary stop on a much longer journey. And if you could take that journey, if someone offered you the chance to travel among the stars, to see worlds beyond your imagination, would you take it?" The question was so specific, so pointed, that Celeste looked at him sharply. "That's an odd thing to ask. Humor me." She considered it seriously, looking up at the vast expanse above them. In a heartbeat, Ryan nodded slowly, as if her answer had confirmed something important. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out what looked like a small crystalline device that pulsed with its own internal light. "Then maybe it's time you knew the truth about who I really am." The crystalline device in Ryan's hand pulsed with ethereal light, casting dancing shadows across his face that made him look both beautiful and terrifying. Celeste's heart hammered against her ribs as she stared at the impossible object. "What is that?" "Proof," Ryan said simply. He pressed something on the device's surface, and suddenly the air around them shimmered like heat waves. When the distortion cleared, Ryan looked different. His skin held that luminescent quality she'd noticed before, but now it was undeniable. His eyes glowed with their own inner light, and when he moved, it was with a grace that belonged to someone not bound by Earth's gravity. "My name isn't Ryan Sterling," he said, his voice carrying new harmonics that made her think of stellar winds. "I'm Kalevex, and I'm not from your world." Celeste stumbled backward, her mind reeling. "That's impossible, is it?" He gestured to the stars above them. "You've spent your whole life believing there had to be something more out there. You were right." The rational part of her brain screamed that this was insane, but another part, the part that had always felt displaced on Earth, recognized truth in his words. "Why are you here? I reveal this to me." Kale's expression grew heavy. "My people sent me to evaluate Earth, to determine if your species is ready for contact or if you pose a threat to the galactic community." "And what have you decided?" His silver eyes found hers in the starlight. "That's complicated. Most humans are primitive, destructive, but you..." He stepped closer. "You're different. You understand wonder. You still believe in something greater." Celeste's mind raced with implications. "How many of you are here?" "Dozens. We've been watching, evaluating, preparing." His voice dropped to almost a whisper. "My report determines whether Earth gets invited to join the Galactic Alliance. or whether it gets quarantined until your species evolves. Or the pause stretched between them like a knife blade, or whether it gets eliminated as a threat. The words hit her like a physical blow. You're talking about genocide. I'm talking about the survival of billions of other worlds. His facade cracked, showing something raw and tortured beneath. Do you know what it's like to hold the fate of an entire planet in your hands? To know that your decision will either save or damn 7 billion souls? Celeste saw it then, the weight he carried, the reason for that otherworldly sadness in his eyes. What was your original recommendation? Cale turned away, his shoulders rigid. Quarantine. Your species is too young, too violent. But spending time here, meeting you, it's changed everything. Changed it how? When he looked back at her, his eyes held a vulnerability that made her heart ache. I've fallen in love with a human. With you? How can I condemn a world that created someone like you? The confession hung between them, beautiful and terrifying. Celeste felt herself drawn to him despite the impossibility of it all. Cale, his communicator device, suddenly flared to life, bathing them both in harsh blue light. A voice spoke in, a language that sounded like music and mathematics combined. Cale's face went ashen. No, not yet. What's wrong? He looked at her with desperate urgency. They've moved up the timeline. The council is demanding my final report in 72 hours. And if you don't give it, then they'll send someone else. Someone who won't hesitate to recommend Earth's destruction. Celeste felt the world tilt beneath her feet. Everything she'd ever known, everyone she'd ever loved, hung in the balance of an alien bureaucracy. There has to be another way. Gripped her shoulders, his touch electric. There might be, but it would require you to trust me completely, to come with me. Come where? To the mothership. To speak directly to the council. The magnitude of what he was asking crashed over her. Leave Earth, possibly forever, to plead for her species' life before alien judges. Celeste, he said urgently, I need you to understand something. If we do this, if you come with me, there's no guarantee you'll ever see Earth again. The council might decide to keep you as a specimen, or they might not believe you represent the best of humanity. Her throat felt like sandpaper, and if I don't come, then I have to file my report based on limited data, and I honestly don't know what I'll recommend. The weight of 7 billion lives pressed down on her shoulders. In the distance, a meteor streaked across the sky like a falling star. And Celeste made her choice. The mothership was a cathedral of impossible architecture, its walls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that hurt Celeste's eyes to look at directly. She walked beside Cale through corridors that seemed to bend space itself, her human mind struggling to process the alien geometries surrounding her. Remember, Cale said quietly as they approached massive doors that looked grown rather than built. Show them your wonder, your capacity for growth. Make them see what I see in humanity. The council chamber opened before them like the inside of a vast shell, its curved walls lined with beings that defied description. Some were humanoid like Cale, others were pure energy contained in crystalline matrices, and still others seemed to exist in dimensions her eyes couldn't properly focus on. At the chamber's center, a figure that radiated ancient authority spoke in that musical language. Cale responded, his voice tight with controlled emotion. What are they saying? Celeste whispered. Counselor Thane is questioning why I brought a human specimen without authorization. Cale's jaw clenched. I'm explaining that you represent Earth's potential. The being called Thane shifted its attention to Celeste, and she felt her mind probed by an intelligence vast and cold as the space between stars. When it spoke again, the words came through a translation field that made them sound hollow and electronic. Human female. Your species stands at the threshold of judgment. Speak, for your world. Celeste's throat went dry, but she forced herself to stand straight. My species is young, I know that. We make mistakes, sometimes terrible ones, but we also create beauty. We love across impossible differences. We dream of touching the stars. You also wage wars, destroy your environment, and show cruelty to your own kind. Yes, Celeste admitted, feeling the weight of truth. But we're learning. Every generation gets a little better, a little wiser. We just need time. Thane's attention turned back to Cale, who began speaking rapidly in their musical language. Whatever he was saying caused a stir among the council members. Some seemed supportive, others clearly hostile. "What's happening?" Celeste asked. Cale's face had gone pale. "I'm making my formal recommendation." The debate that followed was intense, with council members' forms fluctuating with what Celeste assumed was emotion. Finally, Thane raised what might have been a hand, and silence fell. "The council has decided," the translation field announced. "Earth will be granted a probationary membership in the galactic community, with Cale Vex serving as permanent liaison." Relief flooded through Celeste so powerfully she nearly collapsed. They'd done it. Earth was safe. But then she saw Cale's expression, and her blood turned to ice. "Cale, what's wrong?" Couldn't meet her eyes. "Celeste, there's something you need to know. Something I should have told you before." The chamber around them seemed to grow colder. "The council's decision wasn't based on your speech," he continued, his voice barely above a whisper. "It was based on data they've been collecting for years." "What kind of data?" "From me. It's from all of us." He finally looked at her, and she saw shame burning in his silver eyes. "We weren't just observers, Celeste. We were experimenters. Testing human responses, manipulating situations to see how you'd react." The words hit her like physical blows. "What are you saying, the diner? Our meeting? All of it?" "It was orchestrated. You were chosen as a test subject because of your unusual psychology profile, your isolation, your dreams of the stars." His voice cracked. "I was supposed to study you, document your responses, and move on." Celeste felt the universe tilt around her. Everything she'd believed, everything she'd felt, had been a lie. "You used me. It started that way," Cale said desperately. "But what I felt for you, what happened between us, that was real. I swear it was real. How can I believe anything you say?" Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "You've been lying to me since the moment we met." "Celeste, please take me home." The words came out flat, dead. "No, I can't." The admission seemed to break something in him. "The council's decision to grant Earth membership comes with conditions. You have to stay here, as proof of the alliance, as a guarantee of your species' good behavior." The final betrayal hit her like a meteor impact. "I'm a hostage." "An ambassador," Cale said, but even he didn't sound convinced. Celeste looked around the impossible chamber, the alien beings who held her world's fate in their incomprehensible hands, and realized she had traded her freedom for her planet's survival. "Get away from me," she whispered. "Celeste, get away from me." The scream echoed through the chamber, and for a moment, even the ancient council members seemed taken aback by the raw fury in her voice. Cale backed away, his face crumpling with something that looked like genuine anguish. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." But Celeste had already turned her back on him. Staring out through the chamber's vast transparent walls at Earth hanging in the void below, her home, her life, everything she would never touch again. And somewhere in the depths of her shattered heart, a cold resolve began to form. 3 months passed like a slow death aboard the mothership. Celeste learned the alien languages, studied their technologies, and played her role as Earth's unwilling ambassador. But every night she stared through her chamber's transparent walls at her home planet and planned. The ship's computer systems were vast and complex, but she'd always been good with patterns, with finding connections others missed. And she'd discovered something the council didn't know she knew. The ship's quantum communication array could be overloaded, creating a cascade failure that would cripple their ability to coordinate with other vessels. It would also likely destroy the ship and everyone on it. "You're planning something." Celeste didn't turn from her observation window as Cale entered her chamber. She'd felt his presence the moment he'd stepped through the energy barrier that served as her door. "I don't know what you mean." "Your biological readings have been irregular for weeks. Elevated stress hormones, irregular sleep patterns, you're plotting." She finally faced him, taking in his haggard appearance. The past 3 months hadn't been kind to him either. The other council members treated him with barely concealed contempt for his emotional compromise, and she could see the weight of their judgment wearing him down. Does it matter? I'm trapped here either way. Celeste, please. I know you hate me, and you have every right to. But don't do something that will endanger both our species. She laughed, the sound bitter as broken glass. Both our species? People hold all the power here, Kale. They can destroy Earth with a thought if they choose to. That's not true. The Alliance is a sham, and we both know it. She moved closer, close enough to see the pain in his luminescent eyes. Earth is a client state at best. One wrong move, and you'll quarantine us, or worse. The Council isn't that simplistic, isn't it? Celeste. Voice rose. I've been studying your history, Kale, reading the files you thought were encrypted beyond human understanding. Do you know how many Alliance members have been eliminated when they became inconvenient? His silence was answer enough. 47. Civilizations, she continued relentlessly. 47 worlds that thought they were partners until they weren't useful anymore. Those were different circumstances, were they? Or is that just what you tell yourselves to sleep at night? Kale's composure finally cracked. What do you want me to say, that the Council has made mistakes? That sometimes the greater good requires horrible choices? You're right, all of it. But destroying this ship won't change anything. It will only make Earth's situation worse. Will it? Or will it send a message that humanity isn't as helpless as you thought? The implication hit him like a physical blow. You can't be serious. If you damage the mothership, the Council will. See it as an act of war. Good. Her eyes blazed with cold fire. Maybe it's time they realized that humans fight back when cornered. Celeste, thousands of beings will die, including you too. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Tell me, Kale, in all your calculations and manipulations, did you ever consider that I might choose to take you with me? For the first time since she'd known him, she saw fear in his alien eyes. Not for himself, but for her. There has to be another way. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device she'd constructed from salvaged components. You could come with me. What? Not to die? To escape? I found a way to get to the shuttle bay, but I need your access codes. Ship. Go back to Earth and warn them what's coming. Kale stared at the device in her hand. That's insane. Even if we made it to Earth, the Council would follow. They'd see it as proof that humanity can't be trusted. Maybe. Or maybe they'd see it as proof that we're stronger than they thought, that we're worth having as real allies instead of pet specimens. And if you're wrong, if they decide to eliminate Earth entirely, Celeste met his gaze steadily. Then at least we'll die on our own terms, on our own world. The silence stretched between them, heavy with possibility and dread. Finally, Kale closed his eyes and made his choice. The access codes change every rotation cycle, but I can get us to the shuttle bay. When he opened his eyes, they held a resolve that matched her own. But if we do this, there's no going back. We'll be fugitives from both our species. I know. And there's a good chance we won't survive the attempt. I know that too. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his alien skin. Why? Why risk everything for someone who lied to you, who betrayed you? Looked at him for a long moment, seeing past the deception to the being underneath. The one who'd struggled with his duty, who'd fallen in love despite himself, who carried the weight of impossible choices. Because she said quietly, you're not the only one who's fallen in love with someone from another world. The admission hung between them like starlight, fragile and brilliant. Then Kale reached out and took her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. Together? Together. They moved through the ship's corridors like shadows, avoiding patrol routes Kale knew by heart. The shuttle bay loomed ahead, its massive doors sealed by energy fields that hummed with lethal power. Kale placed his hand on the access panel and the barriers dissolved. They'd made it. But as they stepped into the bay, lights blazed to life around them. Council members materialized from the shadows, led by the ancient presence of Thane. Did you truly believe we were unaware of your plans? The counselor's translated voice carried cold amusement. Every action, every thought aboard this vessel is monitored. Celeste felt her heart sink, but Cale stepped protectively in front of her. "Let her go," he said. "This was my choice, my betrayal. Punish me, but she's innocent." Innocent. Thane's form shifted with what might have been laughter. This human female has spent months planning to commit mass murder. She is exactly what we expected from her species. "You're wrong, Celeste," said stepping out from behind Cale. "I wasn't planning to commit murder. I was planning to commit sacrifice." She pulled the device from her pocket and activated it. But instead of the cascade failure she'd described to Cale, it sent out a quantum pulse that interfaced directly with Earth's communication networks. Every phone, every computer, every connected device on the planet suddenly displayed the same message. Humanity is not alone. We are being judged. Be ready. "What have you done?" Thane demanded. Celeste smiled, and for the first time in months it was genuine. "I've given my species the one thing they need most. The truth." The mothership shuddered as Earth's government scrambled to respond to the impossible message. Military forces mobilized. Scientists worked frantically to decode the implications. And 7 billion people looked up at the night sky with new understanding. "Your council wanted to know if humanity was ready for contact," Celeste continued, her voice carrying across the shuttle bay. "Well, now you'll find out, because ready or not, they know you're here." Thane's form flickered with what could only be rage. "You have doomed your species," Cale said, moving to stand beside her. "She saved them, and us, because now there's no going back to the old ways. No more manipulation, no more hidden observations. If our species are going to coexist, it has to be as equals." The council members conferred in their musical language, their forms agitated. Finally, Thane spoke again. "The damage is done. Earth will be quarantined until we can assess the full implications of this breach." "No," Celeste said firmly. "That's not acceptable anymore. Humanity knows the truth now. You can either work with us or against us, but you can't pretend we don't exist. You overestimate your species' importance." "Do I?" "Because from where I'm standing, you just spent enormous resources evaluating one backwater planet. It suggests we're more important than you want to admit." Another long discussion in the alien tongue followed. When it ended, Thane's translated voice carried a note of grudging respect. "Very well. Earth will be granted full membership in the galactic community. But you, Celeste Rivera of Earth, will remain here as a permanent liaison. And Cale Vex will be stripped of his rank and exiled to your world." Celeste felt Cale tense beside her, but she squeezed his hand. "Acceptable," she said. "On one condition, I want to return to Earth first, to help my people adjust to the new reality. I want Cale to come with me. For how long? It takes." Thane was quiet for a long moment. "Your proposal has merit. Very well. You'll have 1 Earth year to prepare your species. Then you return to serve as ambassador." As the council members began to fade back into the shadows, Celeste realized she was trembling. Not with fear, but with something she hadn't felt in months. "Hope," so Cale said quietly. "We're both exiles now." "Not exiles," Celeste corrected, looking up at him with eyes that held the light of distant stars. "Pioneers." As their shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere toward the blue marble that was her home, Celeste pressed her face to the viewport and smiled. She'd lost her freedom and gained the universe. She'd been betrayed by love and saved by the same love. And now, as the first human ambassador to an alien alliance, she had work to do. The stars were calling, and for the first time in her life, she was ready to answer. The end.